Tyler Perry was once seen as a guardian angel, a man who opened his luxurious Los Angeles mansion to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when they abruptly left the UK. No paparazzi, no press, just a place to breathe. At least, that was the version of the story the public was told. But now, the same man who once provided them shelter and support may be the one holding the match to burn it all down. Not out of revenge, but possibly out of legal release. Because when Perry was hit with a massive $260 million lawsuit involving workplace misconduct, Meghan didn't show support. She didn't issue a statement, post an Instagram story, or even drop a quiet word of solidarity. She said nothing. And that silence may have triggered a clause buried deep in a legal agreement, giving Perry full freedom to speak publicly. Let's rewind. After Harry and Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah, Tyler Perry was one of the few A-listers who came forward in defense of the couple. He provided them a home, gave them a private jet, and even offered strategic support as they redefined their public image. It was more than friendship, it was positioning. In fact, Perry became so trusted that the couple named him the godfather of their daughter, Lilibet. But here's where the water starts to get murky. There was no official christening, no public acknowledgement from the royal family, and no documentation to verify the claim. Just a passing mention in their Netflix docuseries. At the time, most people took it at face value. But now, as the narrative unravels, many are asking, was this a genuine relationship or a carefully orchestrated PR move? Because when Tyler Perry's legal troubles exploded into the headlines, Meghan and Harry didn't rush to defend their so-called chosen family. Instead, Perry's presence vanished from their online world. Photos disappeared. Mentions were deleted. Overnight, he was erased from their story. And according to sources close to the situation, that digital erasure may have set off a ticking bomb. Allegedly, Perry and the Sussexes had a strict non-disclosure agreement, but with one critical exception. If he was ever publicly cut off or disavowed, he'd be released from that NDA. Meghan's silence, whether intentional or not, may have activated that escape clause. And now, insiders claim Perry is in possession of emails, voice notes, and recordings, raw, unfiltered material that could reveal the entire post-royal rebrand as something far less organic than fans believed. These aren't just speculative receipts. These are reportedly behind-the-scenes strategy calls, planning documents for media appearances, and discussions about how to frame their exit from the monarchy for maximum public sympathy. You see, when Harry and Meghan first arrived in America, they didn't immediately have Netflix, Spotify, or book deals. What they had was Tyler Perry. He gave them more than a roof. He gave them a foundation in Hollywood, legitimizing them in the entertainment industry. And in return, they gave him something symbolic, a spiritual role in their daughter's life, or so it seemed. But as questions swirl about whether Perry was truly the godfather, or merely a character in their curated narrative, the trust begins to fracture. Because if Perry decides to speak, he won't be vague. The man is a seasoned filmmaker with a sharp understanding of storytelling. If he talks, it won't be subtle. It'll be deliberate. So far, Perry has remained quiet. But behind the scenes, he's reportedly being flooded with offers. Interviews, book deals, exclusive rights to the truth. And what makes this different from the usual tabloid circus is that Perry isn't a random source. He's not a disgruntled relative or anonymous palace aide. He was there, inside the inner circle. He was part of intimate conversations, involved in shaping media strategies, and present during key decisions around their public image. Sources allege that he helped brainstorm talking points, reviewed press releases, and even gave input on how to pitch their Netflix series for maximum emotional impact. Emails, voice notes, late-night phone calls, if any of that goes public, it could reveal that the Sussexes' story wasn't simply about truth and healing. It might have been a carefully packaged narrative built for media consumption. This isn't just bad optics. It's potentially catastrophic. If the authenticity behind their Netflix content is called into question, if interviews were coached, scenes rehearsed, or timelines manipulated, it becomes more than a credibility issue. It becomes a legal problem. We're talking potential breach of contract, defamation risks, and even fraud accusations. Netflix and other media partners could face pressure to cut ties or reevaluate their contracts entirely. And the damage wouldn't stop there. Meghan and Harry's entire brand is built on vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to speak truth to power. If it's proven they manufactured parts of that story, it undercuts not only their own influence, but also the voices of real survivors of racism, abuse, and trauma, people who found solace in the Sussexes' public stand. And as for their supporters, some are already turning. Hashtags like #TylerKnowsAll and #LilibetTruth are trending. Social media sleuths are dissecting old interviews, timelines, and inconsistencies, from the announcement of Lilibet's birth to missing details around her supposed christening. Every post from Meghan is now being met with skepticism. Every smiling photo, every lifestyle blog drop feels more like a distraction than a message. And speaking of distraction, while Harry's scandal made headlines, Meghan stayed in California, posting serene snapshots with wine glasses and soft focus filters. Meanwhile, Harry quietly flew back to the UK with no press, no formal engagements. Was he visiting royal advisors? Consulting lawyers? Either way, the timing wasn't lost on anyone. You don't quietly disappear across the ocean while your entire brand is under threat, unless you're trying to put out a fire in private. Behind closed doors, it's clear that panic has set in. Meghan's team is allegedly contacting media outlets, trying to soften coverage, offering off-the-record chats to sway tone. But for every controlled narrative, there's a louder echo of doubt. Even Hollywood is starting to distance itself. Brands that once championed Meghan's message of empowerment and Harry's mental health advocacy are now watching from the sidelines. When your image depends on integrity and transparency, even the hint of manipulation can cause sponsors to vanish. But the biggest danger of all? Tyler Perry knows too much. He doesn't need to exaggerate. He doesn't need to invent anything. All he has to do is tell the truth. One email, one recording, one quote taken from a late-night call could be enough to destroy everything the Sussexes have built. They bet it all on controlling their own story. But now the script isn't theirs to write. The power has shifted. And Perry, once their silent protector, might just become the voice that ends the illusion. Because in the end, curated narratives can be powerful, but nothing is stronger than the truth. And Perry might be holding every piece needed to reveal it.